Story 1. My husband is cheating on me with my best friend. I'm honestly not sure where to start, so I guess I'll just start. My husband and I have been dating since I was 19 and he was 22. We've been married for 6 years now. We have 2 kids, and I'm 6 months pregnant with our third. 2 years ago, I found out my dad has stage 3 colon cancer. My dad is my only parent, as my mom passed away when I was 12. He's my favorite human, and life without him doesn't seem as colorful. His laugh is contagious, and he gives these big bear hugs that seem to make all of your broken pieces feel like they're perfectly in place again. Whenever I've had a hard day, he doesn't poke and prod, and just lets me vent and listens. About 5 months ago, we discovered the treatments aren't working for him. And in direct quote of the doctor, he said, "Months, not years." Since then, he's got progressively worse, and now is losing his memory. He looked at my dog that he got for me on my 21st birthday and said, "Wow, that's a nice dog. Where'd you get it?" My husband has been my absolute rock. He's been there for me, holding my hand and helping me through this. He's been so loving and attentive to both my kids and I. Don't get me wrong, I am a mother first, always. I don't allow myself to wallow. My kids are still loved, cared for, played with, and I haven't let my load slack around the house. Once my dad got his updated prognosis, my husband encouraged me to quit my job. About a month later, we discovered we were pregnant again, and I still hadn't let go of my job. I kept holding out for some reason. After finding out I was pregnant again, he assured me it was still okay to quit my job, that honestly it would save us a small fortune on daycare costs anyways. So I did. I quit my job. My best friend and I have been friends since diapers. Her family is like my family, and vice versa. My mom and her mom grew up together. We've always been solid, and right after my dad's appointment, when we found out he had so little time left, I drove straight to her house, and she held me while I cried for hours. If there are soulmates in friend form, she was mine. Thick as thieves is what my mom used to say. This morning, as I was up with my 3-year-old, he's sick, my husband's work alarm was going off. He has a few he sets, so I turned that one off and gently woke him up. He said he was up late working, so he took the morning off, rolled over and went back to sleep. As I went to turn off the remainder of his alarms, I saw a text from my friend on his lock screen that said, "I'm assuming since there hasn't been an angry pregnant lady on my doorstep, you haven't told her about us yet?" Time froze at that moment. I took his phone and walked away and just read their conversations. 4 months, this man has been sleeping with my best friend. 4 months, these people have been lying to my face. And I know what you're going to say, you should have seen the warning signs, but I've been clutching this phone in my hand for 2 hours and nothing. He's been so loving and attentive to me, but he always has been. So kind and gentle. There's been no late night work nights, except for once in a blue moon. There's been no lingering touches between them, or even glances. They act as they have since the day I first introduced them. How sick is it that she calls him her brother, but she screws him? I know so many people get a moment of clarity in situations like this, but I have none. Aside from being sad about my dad, I haven't changed. I'm still a loving wife and mother. I still doted on him and my children. I talk to him about how he's doing and how was his day every freaking day. I haven't allowed the ground to swallow me whole. I know what I have to do now, but I just don't want to. I'm about to lose my family and my support system in one blow. I'll confront him tomorrow. Today I just need this last 24 hours of peace. As for her, I won't give her the satisfaction of a response. I don't care why she did it. She did it, and it's done. I was always the friend who cleaned up her messes. After today, I will cut her out of my life like she never mattered at all. This has to be the hardest storm I'll ever weather, but dang it, I know it'll sail through it. If not for me, for my children. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for making my husband either take our son's poop box or the bus because I will not lend him my car? Our family does not have anything that requires a full-size truck. We don't haul anything. We don't camp. We do not own a trailer. We have zero reason to own a $100,000 truck. Other than that, my husband really wanted it. It was in our budget, and he was adamant that it was what he wanted. We have 3 kids. Our oldest is 17, our daughter is 15, and our awesome surprise baby is 2. Not planned, but a joy to be sure. We never take the baby anywhere in the truck. My husband keeps it pristine. My son has a Jetta that he purchased with help from us and his grandparents. It's a reliable car, but it's not in great shape. I have a Porsche Cayenne that is our family vehicle. The back seat has the usual stains from the baby. That's life. Well, my husband recently got a promotion, and he has to go downtown twice a week now. He tried driving his truck, but it won't fit in the parking garage at his office. He had to park a block away at a surface lot where hooligans and ne'er-do-wells might harm it. He asked me if he could use my car on the days he goes into work. I said that would not be a problem. He just had to put the car seat in the truck so I could drive with the baby. Nope. He wanted me to drive our son's car and chauffeur the older kids and not touch his truck. I declined his generous offer and told him my car was off limits because I needed it for myself. So now he has had to borrow our son's Jetta because his only other option is public transportation. He could afford to Uber in, but he doesn't want to do that either. He says I'm being a jerk not letting him use my car, but I think he's being unreasonable about his truck. No, the wife for sure is not an a-hole in this situation. The husband, while a-hole may or may not be the right word, he's definitely being childish, selfish, a total brat. For one, I'll just say that this is a first world problem. They have 3 cars, one for each family member that's old enough to drive. That is a luxury. That's a privilege. Not many people, in the US at least, have that ability. There's a lot of families that have 1 car shared amongst all family members, or they have to take public transport. So the fact that these guys have 3 cars, and one of which is over $100,000, which I think is just ridiculous to begin with. These are first world problems for sure. And the dad is being a jerkwad by demanding that he's able to use the wife's car, but not offering the same in return. His car, for whatever reason, is off limits, even though it serves no purpose in the family beyond bringing himself status and glory or whatever he sees it as. Probably has those nutsack things on the back of the truck too. So yeah, he's the jerk. He should just swap cars if his car doesn't fit in the lot and take the wife's car. But in return, he's got to let her drive his truck. Since he's refusing to do that, then he's out of luck. I think he should Uber. Story 3. Former manager made my life hell, and I finally got her fired. I was desperate to join a new job after my husband and I were both laid off last year. When I was offered a new role, I knew it would be a step down from what I was doing, but the manager and the team seemed great, and that part has not changed. However, since my manager, Gary, was so busy, he basically offloaded me to another manager, Jane. I was supposed to be the connection point between my team and Jane, but it quickly became Jane micromanaging me. She would ask me to work through lunch, move and cancel vacation days, call at 11 p.m. on weekends, and order me around on phone calls. She also made nasty comments about my weight and said I was big for my race. The list of personal slights was so long that it filled 3 pages. I would talk back to her, and she did not like that. And that provoked her more. I only stayed because we needed to pay the bills. Finally, I had a mental breakdown on a Friday afternoon after she yelled at me for something trivial about scheduling a meeting without including someone from her team who I didn't know about. I was dealing with a family tragedy and couldn't take it anymore. I told Gary about the situation with Jane, and he was sympathetic and not at all surprised, considering half her team quit. He immediately offered to move me to a different team under him. I was thrilled. Well, it turns out going to the new team didn't help. Jane continued to order me around from afar. When I ignored her emails, she came to my desk one day and started loudly talking about how I am not qualified for this role. Gary overheard and finally told her off, but the verbal abuse did not stop. After 2 months there, I abruptly wrote my resignation letter and stapled the list of Jane's offensive comments and CC'd everyone. Gary offered a bunch of accommodations to try to keep me, but seeing how she was still provoking from afar, I said the only way for me to stay would be for her to go, and he did not have authority to let her go. Her manager was in a different country, and despite several HR complaints from at least 5 people, nothing was done. So I left, loudly and without shame, telling everyone exactly why I was leaving. Times were very bad for 3 months. There were nights we would eat slices of bread just so we could pay the mortgage and emergency expenses from a health crisis and a funeral. Even after he found a job, we were still catching up on bills, and still are. I spent months applying to 5 to 10 roles per day, sometimes over 20. Last month, I saw a public memo about a big shot from a former company joining the company I just left. I used to work with this guy closely and texted him a "congrats. Let me know if you need any insights on the new place." We had a quick call where I told him some ins and outs where I thought they could innovate. After this call, he asked me to join the team as his chief of staff. I accepted. Imagine Jane's shock when we had our first all-hands call. All the VPs and above were asked to welcome the new big shot in a giant conference room. In Big Shot's speech, he breezed over that I'll be his chief of staff, along with a few key names. I now sat 2 levels above Jane, and apparently within the 3 months I was not there, the other half of her team turned over. Every single person left. Gary was excited for me and said all nice things. However, Jane took the classless route and sent Big Shot an email about how I'm an unqualified idiot, that I used to work for her, how I tried to get her fired, and that she suspects I lied to get ahead. She didn't even try to be fake nice. Big Shot forwarded me her email and asked what this was about. I was so nervous and excited. Little did Jane know I was a director at Big Shot's competitor company and was already a level above her, so 2 levels isn't a big leap, and I worked with him for 5 years. I had an hour call with Big Shot and told him she was bad for the company culture and was a nasty person in general. But the evidence he needed was Gary confirming that her whole team has turned over. My prior resignation letter, which was still sitting on my desktop when I logged in upon return, and a few other nasty emails she sent her recent staff, which they were happy to share with us. Big Shot fired Jane on Friday. I don't think this person is an a-hole. I think it's important that you stand up for yourself when you're able to and uphold your own dignity, and as hard as it might be sometimes, leave jobs that are abusing you. This person, it didn't really seem like they had that luxury to just up and leave a job willy-nilly, so they had to endure some suffering for a bit of time. But everyone's got their breaking point, and they clearly reached it and had to leave. So not the a-hole for that part. And on Jane's part, she's got to keep in mind that reputation holds a lot of weight. And if she's not careful, which she wasn't, that reputation is going to come back around and bite her in the butt. And which it did. Story 4. Enraged Marmalade thinks I, the delivery driver, should tip her. I'm a delivery driver for major food delivery company in major college town in Texas where everyone loves maroon. Normally it's not bad. Pays pretty well and customers are generally fine, though you'll always have idiots in every service job. This, however, surpassed anything I'd ever experienced before. I get an order alert on my phone, a relatively simple but expensive order. We drivers love expensive orders from a restaurant nearby. In the portion for delivery instructions, the customer explains that I need to call her once I arrive, as ringing the doorbell, as I normally do, would disturb her autistic son. Okay, no problem at all. I received therapy for sensory issues when I was a kid, so I'm going to be even more sympathetic to that than the average person. I receive the order and drive over to the house, nice part of town, and give the customer a call. Younger woman answers, tells me to come up to the door. I do so, and enter the Enraged Marmalade, who, strangely, was fairly attractive and did not have the typical Karen haircut. EM equals Enraged Marmalade, me equals the Muffin Man, NSL equals nice support lady. Me. Here's your order, ma'am. Is there anything else I can help you with today? Yes, my son is autistic, and people like you don't understand how difficult it is to raise him. I shouldn't have to pay this much for food. Can you give me a discount? Me, baffled. I'm sorry, ma'am, but the app calculates your order total, not me. It's already been paid for. The EM did not like that answer. Her face changed from a smug smirk into a snarl. I suppose I didn't realize how ridiculous the idea that people pay for their own food is. Well, why don't you pay for it then? I'm not sure if you heard, but my son is autistic, and it's your fault that he's still hungry. I'm sorry, ma'am, but that goes against our policy. If I paid for your order, I'd probably be fired. Good. You're a useless driver anyway. You're disgusting. My son is starving to death. Since I've had to go through so much trouble with you, you should tip me. My app has a setting that, while you're in the process of taking an order to a customer, they'll assign you another one at the same time if there's activity. Thankfully, this saved me here. Can't do that, ma'am. Here's your order. I dropped the food gently on the ground between us and jogged back to my car. She was shouting something unintelligible. So much for not disturbing her autistic son, but I couldn't make out what she was saying. Unsurprisingly, she gave me a 1-star review. You tip online, so I got a small tip. I contacted support about it the next day. Me. I had a crazy lady yesterday started demanding that I pay for her order, even that I tip her. Really rude. Not sure what the deal was. Oh, I knew what the deal was. That's why I'm here. Which order was it? It was order number at address. Yikes, you're the third person to complain about her. 1 or 2 we take with a grain of salt, but 3 you're probably out. I'll try to get her deactivated. If so, her review will be off your record. Thanks, I appreciate it. I feel like the entire world is better off now that she won't get deliveries from us anymore, but was the cost worth it? That remains to be seen. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.